The choices we make. So this is definitely one of those ones, and I talk about it a lot on this one because it is the main purpose of this program, of the chasing greatness, of 126 to greatness, the whole world and concept that I'm trying to create here is about keeping your word, about building that character, about designing who you want to be and the man that you want to show up as. So my son is, pardon me, not the best sleeper. We're going through sleep regressions and all that kind of stuff. And it's my night. It's my turn to sleep with the baby. He has his own queen bed, and so we take turns. We're trying to teach him to sleep in his own bed. And some nights are better than others. But, the last few nights he's been waking up about 10, and he's got a bit of that separation anxiety. He just wants us to be there, and he'll go back to sleep. So, as I said, it's my night. But I dicked around, I put things off, decided I wanted to eat a kilo of fruit before I got into doing this kind of stuff. So I hadn't done this yet. I hadn't done the work. I hadn't read my 10 pages. I hadn't done my daily gratitude. I hadn't written my power list for tomorrow. I hadn't posted my daily video or my pictures. All things that must get done. I hadn't done those things yet. And he woke up earlier, like an hour earlier than normal. And so I was soothing him, and we had cuddles and calmed him down, and we're putting him to sleep, and I thought I'd won, and I was sneaking out of the room, and he woke back up again. And so I went back, and to the point where, I didn't so much as I fell asleep. Laying down in bed, snuggling the baby, and I'm tired, and, running on limited sleep. And I was like, no one would know. No one would know, no one would notice, nothing would ever be said. I didn't do this content, I didn't read my pages, didn't do my gratitude, didn't do those things that are on my list, my zero choice mentality list. No one would ever know, but I would know. And then I was faced with a choice, because this week has been hard. There's a lot going on emotionally, and I am emotionally drained, and I am not at my fighting peak at the moment. My willpower is limited. I'm tired. I apologize. I have a lot going on, but I am not at my peak. And I really honestly thought about just going, I'll just make it up tomorrow. No one will know. But I'd know. In here, I'd know that I cheated. And I honestly believe that's the start of it. It's that slippery slope of, no one would know. But if you let yourself off once, then it's much easier to let yourself off again and again and again. And this is the point, that you are the only person that you are going to spend your entire life with. In fact, I saw a great clip just today, and I was like, I'm going to use that. And they spoke about it, and they're like, imagine you are booking lunch or coffee or something like that with a friend, and every time they flake on you at the last minute, or they show up half an hour late, or they don't even respond, or when they do, they're just not even present. After a while, you'd stop contacting that friend to hang out with them. But that's you. Now imagine that's you. And every time that you flake on yourself, every time you give your word and you promise you're going to do it this time and then you don't, pretty soon, if that was someone else, you wouldn't trust them at all. You wouldn't trust them with anything. And that's what's happened to you. You don't trust yourself anymore. If you say something, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't carry any weight or heft or anything like that, because you flake on it. Like, you flake on it all the time. You give up on yourself all the time, and you're just like, whatever. So why would this be any different? So you need to build credibility. On the flip side, if you have a friend who every time you text them, they text back, and we book a lunch or coffee, they're there right on time, they always show up, and they're always excited to be there, and no matter what, that they're going to be there and you can count on them. That's a friend you put trust in. That's a friend you have faith in. And that's the difference. When you can become that man who you keep your word, no matter how big or how small, you keep that word to yourself and you follow through. Eventually that starts to come through in your personality, it comes through in your confidence, in your attitude. And then those around you start to noticing that it doesn't matter what happens. If you said it's done, it is done. End of story. And that builds on it. And it's this momentum. But it starts with every little decision. You cannot flake on yourself. Even if no one will ever know, you cannot flake. Because you're the only person you'll spend your entire life with. You know all the secrets. You know where every dead body is buried. You know the dirt. You can't hide from yourself. You know truly deep down who you are. And you can reprogram that. You can change that at any moment. You can make a decision and decide that you are going to change that for the better. But you have to decide, and then you have to build the credibility up. And it's one of those things that it's like all things. It's like exercise. It's like finances. It's like all that kind of stuff. The really sad part is building up credibility. I apologize. Is a slow process. And it bit by bit by bit by bit. But if you slip, it's disproportionately level. It's 10 steps backwards to 1 step forward. You cannot afford to drop the ball on this. And character building, who you are, those kinds of things, you cannot afford to miss a step. You have to be perfect. You need to teach yourself and all those around you that your word is your bond, and there is nothing more sacred to you than that. And this is something I want to do with my kids, and it's something, like, as I said, I'm building this day by day by day for myself. But I have this really big rule. If I said I was going to do something, if I promised either of those beautiful little babies something, it's fucking happening. I don't care what else has to happen. If I said that I was going to do something, it is now happening. And I think we've lost this in this world. Like, I was talking to a father, and his kids were nearly as old as me. But he was like, we used to have a fix-it box. The kids used to cry when things would go in the fix-it box because they knew once it went in there, it was done. It was going in the bin because I would never ever fix it, but I'd promise I'd fix it. And I was like, I don't ever want to be that dad. I don't want to ever have the situation where I have told them something and they just instantly know that it's false. That is like the worst report card on your character that you could ever possibly have. That your word is so worthless that your children already know that you're lying to them. Do you want to be that man? Do you want to be that man that people know if you give your word, it's already a lie? Like, you might as well count it as the opposite. If they said they would do it, it's done, that it's not happening. That's an awful way to live. As I said, even if nobody knows, you need to keep your word to yourself because it builds that credibility so that when you do give your word to big things and you know, I'm going to change our lives, I'm going to build this, I'm going to be this man, they know it's fucking true. And so do you. You believe it with 100% conviction because, you know, the past 1,000, 10,000 times you gave your word, you followed through. Builds credibility. And soon you can be the man that everybody knows that if you say it, it is done. End of story. And this is how you build it. It's not an innate skill that we have. It's not a talent that just appeared. It's a skill that is built through discipline and fortitude and focus and effort by just being truthful and consistently. If you said it was done, it is done. End of story. So that's where I'm at today. I've got to get all this stuff sorted. I've got to plow through it as quickly as possible because then I'm going to climb back into bed with my son. You know, my wife has taken over because that woman has the patience of an angel. She understands me and she lets me get away with a lot more than I probably should. And I need to go take my turn because she didn't sleep well last night. Now it's my turn. And this is part of that deal that, you know, we're a team. and I gave my word that I would help her out. So I'm keeping my word here, and then I'm going to go keep my word there. And whatever this night brings, that's what it brings. But I promised her that she would have a night where she could sleep through. So another case of I need to keep my word so I can build that track record with her as well as with myself that this is what's happening. So, quick little one. Hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll be back tomorrow with a full length one. I've got some interesting topics that I'd love to cover, and we'll see where we end up. So, until then, talk soon.